thinking about as we're reading the story is how do we go about conveying information since he's basically limited the capability of telling us. So how is he communicating to us and what might be the intent behind it? So why are we learning only through visual media? You also note the color choices, the way characters are drawn, etc.
We're gonna have to get here 5 minutes earlier. If the two of us move, but the Soho would sit with us.
Tommy, only if you kept your end of the promise. None of the.
Oh yeah, you did not keep your end of the promise. The first day, we said, "Oh, you're the last person here. You're not supposed to sit with us." And sat with us the next day.
I only sat with guys. I never sat with guys.
Once. But that one time was supposed to be the only time that you ever sat with us. We were fine.
We agreed to switch off though.
No, the one day he said it instead of you.
Yeah. And then that's when
he
this
never
whole
moved
thing
up.
started.
Yeah.
And then you went here, and then the next day you didn't
No,
switch back.
we both did being our end of the part, right?
You're being out of it.
Yeah. You know what? Let's all move. The show of defiance.
I like this table.
The show of
I'm gonna sit right here in this spot.
Rebellion, you could say.
Yes. She got
I
on.
like this spot.
It's rebellion, except for we're actually winning. You know what? A bunch of people are really salty that for cheap. I know, but
Just move it to
No one will be home.
you're right. This is like the
It's a
table.
two-girl table. You guys are saying the two-girl table.
That's right. No one will be home. Because there's more people sitting with us. Two people. Three people.
Oh wait, never mind.
Then none of mine left like that.
Alex, that's what I mean.
Instinctively growls. No, it's good. Sorry, we have a war going on.
Actually, no,
We
we'll
rebel.
sit there.
Yeah, well, let's switch back. Alright, go. Sorry, CJ.
We rebelled.
The rebellion against the bourgeoisie.
Why are we rebelling?
We're the proletariat, and we overthrew the bourgeoisie. Alright, well, we're the proletariat. We have a lot more men. You're the bourgeoisie, you only have one person.
I only need 1, 2, 3. I only need 6.
Well, okay, so like, do you want us to overthrow some kind of government? Yeah. Oh, it's from the Bacon Gun.
2, 6.
It's from Jamestown. Oh, really? Yeah. Isn't Jamestown like not understanding?
There was a lot of.
Where'd you get that shirt?
Wait, I didn't have it.
We got hats.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure what that
1504.
1504, then I dealt for D.
They were like,
I got it.
I did. I read it 4 times. I had no idea what was happening.
they're like,
No, there was so much mumbo jumbo in it.
It's just like bullshit. Are you actually saying?
Huh? Did you get it?
Yeah, you heard about the war? Proletariat versus the bourgeoisie?
so like the people who colonized Virginia, they were like, it's the earth.
So when we came, Colin and Lucy were sitting here.
Sorry, so I'm gonna have to
So then,
take that hat off.
3 of us all moved over there. He left, and then we all moved back. And the proletariat was victorious. Communism lives on.
Okay.
Baby Ginger.
I'm not Donald Trump.
Eric and Coffee.
My little brother. Eric Nicholas Randall.
brother.
Yeah, Wilbur is a kind soul. Did you see this?
I know, I saw that. I was like,
Also, 5 people were killed. Mosque Street.
I thought it was
But
6. 6 and 8. That's what I heard on the news.
at 10, according to groups, 5.
Mine was
At least it's not the Clinton News Network.
What?
The Clinton News. That's what Trump called CNN.
did you know the global warming page disappeared on the
Yeah.
really sad.
Why did
That's because he's trying to remove all fake news.
Did you see the press conference with the press secretary
I love
after the
he
inauguration?
banned the EP
And
from
how
talking
like
to
he was like talking about how like so many I heard were broken at the inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the total lies that he did.
It's like, screw the environment, but I'm gonna put the guy who hates the
So impossible to actually.
Did you read?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get any of it?
So I wanted
Oh my god, me neither.
I like,
Where's this dude? His name is
I like green earth stuff, ecology, green earth stuff. Did you do much of that?
Yeah.
I went to your green energy seminar. They're all wild, like
Yeah, but I didn't get any of
one
it.
where you can go. Well, yeah, but did you do that?
Fight the entire
Math
subject
department.
of math.
Why?
I hate math.
It's like a conference. It's like
What happens that
Fight.
What was the last straw in the
Yeah, it
camel's
was-
back?
Okay,
like a bunch of
I read it. No, so like,
Okay.
you know, with like problem sets, it's like they expect you to do everything. Like, I literally got a point taken off because I didn't put a goddamn U to signify union. Like, I had the answer right. I showed all my work. I got exactly what they wanted, but I didn't put a fucking U
Who's your
between my
teacher?
things. Kraus.
No idea who that is, and I'm
She's a
glad
dumb
I didn't.
bitch.
Apparently.
Oh, did she really harshly grade
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like, she took a point off because I didn't put U for union. I'm
She
like,
took a point off of me because I didn't put arrows on the graph.
Yeah, she did that to Charlotte too, and for Charlotte, she took a point off because Charlotte put like squiggly brackets instead of like legit brackets.
I only got 2 problems wrong and I got like a C+. Because Emily and I had the same answers and she got an A-, but because of all these little things that added up, I got a C+.
Exactly. I'm so fucking done because I'm not going into math. I hate math with all my heart.
I thought significant. Well, it's kind of not unreasonable to assume that you want to when you're
even.
Yeah.
I was like, you can kind of tell where it is.
Oh, we have gym today.
Like,
What was the document about? I didn't get it.
Okay, so
I didn't get it
basically,
either.
they're the colonists are asking too much for tobacco, right? And everyone's like, what the fuck?
Eden. October. Amy. Thomas.
Here.
There's so much tobacco, right? And then it goes in.
Here?
Diane. Tommy.
Into this. Here. That goes into this whole story about bacon, right? Now bacon is a racist piece of shit who hates the Indians, right? So then he goes to attack the Indians, and everyone is like, no, don't do that. But he's like,
I have your
yeah.
quizzes, I didn't put in the grades yet, so I'll have to give it to you on Thursday. Sorry. I will put the grades after. I need you to do something, and I forgot to bring the book I was going to give to you. So, can I get 2 volunteers to come with me and carry some books? Okay, yes, come. And yes, come. And you want to get right back, and then you want to go too? Okay.
We'll be right back right after the break.
Shut up. Okay, so yeah, Bacon is like, I'm gonna attack the Indians, and the British are like, no, don't do that. Then the governor comes by and like they get this charter or whatever to like do whatever they want, and the governor is somehow forced to sign that charter because like if he doesn't, then he's gonna have this angry mob of people attack him. And if I was the governor, I wouldn't want an angry mob of people attacking me either. So So then Bacon is like, cool, sign that charter, yeah. And then he goes to war with the Indians, and the Indians are like, no, don't do that. And everyone except Bacon and his army are like, no, don't do that. But Bacon still does it. And then eventually Bacon dies. That's all I got
Yeah,
from
and
it.
that's how the rest of the thing falls.
How does he die?
Like, I thought
He just dies naturally.
didn't it have something to do with taxes?
Yeah, no, there was taxes on tobacco. I didn't get how they related though. No, because I know that they were charging too much for tobacco, and then England is like, no, don't do that. And then the colonists are like, yeah, we're gonna do that. And then they did that, so they raised the taxes because Britain was like putting too much restriction on them. They're like, we expect you to do this and this because you're in the new world, and they're like, no, don't do that. So they're like, we're gonna raise the price on tobacco. Fuck you.
Oh,
That's that.
when you did dance, what kind did you do?
When I did dance, ballet.
Okay, because my mom's setting me up for ballet and I'm scared.
Okay.
How to do things.
I'll teach you. Okay. Are you just, what do you mean she's signing you up for ballet? Where?
I don't know, some like thing
Ballet place.
by her house.
Is it for teens or? I hope you're not going to be dancing with. Because I started off when I was like 10.
It's 11 to 15-year-old.
My heart goes out to you. I will help. I'm a fucking slut for dance.
I'm not flexible. How to flex?
I have really bad scoliosis. Like I'm really not flexible either.
Oh, I need to be stretchy. I need to be stretchier. No, these don't look like good books.
This is an ugly book.
Oh no.
Say that about her.
I don't like it. Eden,
How can you give Amanda?
Eden, I have an ugly book. Can I just take off the peely stuff? Am I allowed to do that?
No, it's supposed to be there to protect it.
People don't always have sex with protection, am I right? Cool, let's like, I'm taking off the protection, but you should have safe and consensual sex. Safe, sane, and consensual.
And then there's Whitman.
Oh boy. Fuck Whitman is gay.
Who somehow made freaking dying in war sexual? It's like, dude, that was just weird.
Whitman's gay.
While the sign-up sheet is going around, I want you to look at page. The number should be on the inside. It should be like FY something, and then. Yes.
What?
Yes.
What does he mean?
While this is going around for you to sign out, I want you to look at page 104 and read Bacon's declaration in the name of the people. I will read it.
In the name of the people or in the name of him and his people?
I do not see this number.
Oh my god, what are you doing?
Yeah. What time is it?
Like what page?
104.
Don't make fun.
No,
Give me a minute. Let me.
I refuse.
Like many men who challenged this authorized government, Bacon quickly took the position
I'm uncomfortable.
that he truly represented the people. His signature, General by the consent of the people, is an interesting commentary. In his declaration in the name of the people, lays the blame for Virginia's failures directly upon the government. Who hath traitorously injured His Majesty's interests here. Historians and believers
I'm uncomfortable.
The Colonians have debated whether Bacon did in fact have the backing of the rank and file in Britain. Those who argue that he did make the 600 men who rallied to his cause. Those who argue that Bacon notes that he issued a declaration about consulting opposition using the title of elected.
Oh, why does government have you? This is dumb. What is hopeful to
Tendencies of public works relief,
Board of K-Cons, Towness, Portrait,
and others
anything with you, and rendering.
feasible effects in any measure. This long time
Why are they saying all this stuff? What has Bacon done? I mean, he's been dumb for having favoring.
Doing what for this?
Emboldened.
Doing what for all of this?
Oh, emboldened the Indians. So it is about Bacon.
Contempt of Bacon.
He invaded the Indians, and which resulted in people getting murdered.
Like Indians getting murdered, or like his people?
His people. Murthers committed upon us. So like he attacked the Indians, which caused the Indians to attack back and kill his own people. So he ended up destroying the army of English because the Indians. Why does evil have two thumbs? I'm so uncomfortable. Why does drawn have an E?
I didn't see anything about their Eden. What?
Cryas.
Number 5.
Cryas. Cryas.
Was there something about pirates?
Cryas.
Pirates?
Cryas.
Pirates?
Cryas. No. So have an E.
Mr. Bacon.
Cryas.
When you finish,
Oh my god.
if you go into Moodle, when you finish reading that, in Moodle there's a link to a website that says Slavery in Virginia. It's a Moodle link to Slavery in Virginia. It's like
Literally, then we do declare these. And the person who was in his kids. Are these people bad people or good people? I have no idea. Is this like a death list or like a to kill list?
I have no idea, but
when you click on the Slavery in Virginia,
Written by Bacon.
you do a page that looks like this.
that's Daniel Bacon.
Then you want to go to
That's Daniel Bacon sounds like a shit flavor.
Oh, they did a bad thing.
Oh, what was that thing?
Because I don't know, but it says to be so they have to surrender themselves.
Ooh.
I think they like invaded and murdered people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're traitors and injured people.
Look at all these dead people.
Yeah, they killed people. I went against the majesty and stuff. Though, like, isn't that what Bacon did? Yeah, this isn't a kill list, it's a to kill list.
It's a blacklist.
Okay. This makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
It has two T's.
No.
Also, so.
Yeah.
So great.
Enemy F. Virginian slavery. Bean. Story. Outcry. Mischief.
So when you finish, you go to this Slavery in Virginia, and then go to click on evidence, and then go to the one that says economics, and you're going to see some charts. I would ask you to look at those. so after you're done reading, go to Slavery Virginia, click on Evidence, and then go down to the Economics website and have a look at each chart. All right, so now that you've read, I ask you to look at official history, look at Bacon's declaration. And then you look at this chart. What's going on? What's this rebellion about? Go ahead. Okay, so there's some anger at Governor Berkeley.
I think a major thing was about like the tobacco and like it was the low price of tobacco.
There's a chart there. There's a chart there. Tobacco prices. Why would we end up with a chart that looks like this? An interesting thing happened. So remember I told you Virginia colony, they're about to abandon it, and it's going to become yet another colonial disaster for the British, and then by chance the supply chain comes to go back. It's still a disaster because people are dying, they don't know how to survive, and they're not actually producing anything because they didn't find gold like they hoped. And something unprecedented happened because I told you the Crown really wasn't involved in colonization. The Crown actually intervenes and essentially bails out the company. At which point, they get really lucky and they realize that tobacco is a crop that they can actually survive. Has the additional benefit of being incredibly addictive, and so people keep wanting to buy it regardless. How did this happen? Yeah, so you produce so much of it that there's such a huge supply of it that the prices drop. So basically, the whole colony has become so dependent on tobacco that everyone is producing it, and they're overproducing it. Well, so you increase the price, and then you increase the production, and therefore you decrease the price. So now there is so much production that there aren't enough people to actually buy all of it. So the low tobacco, and this ties in with the flat taxation. Because if your taxes are flat and they haven't changed, but prices have dropped and that's what you're selling, you still have to come up with the same amount, but you can't do it because it's hard to get that exact amount of money because prices have dropped. But everyone's paying the same amount. So that's a problem. What else? Again, think of all of the documents.
Wasn't there like Indians on the frontier that were starting to interview?
This is a phrase I take from a guy who's standard. We use the phrase indigenous for the indigenous people. So they have the problem with these indigenous people outside of Jamestown. What else? Okay, so an interesting question. According to another one of these charts, the life expectancy, and this is of all people, is going up, but the average term of service for indentured servants is around 7 years. Okay. So the way it works, these labor recruiters are in England, and they're trying to get people to sign up. They're basically working for the people in Virginia who need labor. So they're in England trying to get people to sign these labor contracts. And the deal is they pay for your passage over the Atlantic, and in exchange for them paying your passage, you're going to work for them for this term. And when the term is up, you pay for your passage, you're free, and you can now get land. That's how it's supposed to be. The problem in the first half of the century is actually quite clear. If the average lifespan is 7 years, what are the chances of you surviving your indentured service? And even here, mid-century, okay, you get out, you were an indentured servant for 7 years, you get out, you might live another 5. Of course, when they sign you up, you don't know this, right? But that means that there's a whole lot of death in the colony. And in 1676, by the time we get to Bacon's Rebellion, the life expectancy is increased a bit. That's good. But the life expectancy is affecting everyone, slaves and indentured servants alike, which means, tell me, what did we find out from the charts about the price of slaves and prices of servants?
They went down and then they went back up.
They do. Something happens in 1660, and someone's the limit of the kind of data that these people are sampling in order to give us charts. But so it does go down and it does go back up, but it's still lower than it was. And what's the difference in price between a slave and a servant? Is it more or less the same trend? And how much more expensive is a slave than a servant? Well, it matters. If the average life expectancy is 7 years, is it worth your bother to buy a much more expensive slave than in simply signing a labor contract with an indentured servant? Why spend more on a slave? But what happens when the life expectancy increases? Now, the indentured servants they're getting out of their servitude, and they're surviving. Therefore, now it seems to make more sense to enslave people for life. Right? It was too expensive before. Now it's cheaper. So that's something to add into our understanding of what's going on in Virginia. Now, the question for these people is about slavery. I'm going to tell you that there's something else going on too. What other issues? Anything that you see? What is Bacon? According to Bacon, when his rebellion occurs in 1676, why is he rebelling? How's that? So he puts the emphasis here. What does he say about it? Yes.
I think you said how
Jamestown. It's on a river. As the indentured servants live longer, and they're supposed to get land, it's the same problem that the Puritans had. Eventually, all of the really good land closest to town is gone, and it gets further and further away. Eventually, there's no point of having land at the edge of town. You just start a new town. Now you're at the center. Jamestown is here. If you go inland, you're only going to go so far before you realize it takes too long to get into town, and that it's not very safe because there are indigenous people out here. If you go upriver, you can travel a little faster, and so that's a little bit more convenient. You might travel up to here, but again, there's still a limit. So you have kind of this area like this, maybe down in the other direction, expanding up the river, but not too far inland. But eventually, all of that is either, taken, or is just too far away. The problem people are having is they're wandering into the frontier because they have to, because there's no other land left. And now they're in the indigenous people territory, and they have to deal with the fact that they haven't exactly done anything to get into their good graces. It's been more violent than not. Now, this might strike you as odd, that despite the fact that there is this incredible amount of violence, about 1 out of every 6 people in Virginia colony actually leaves and goes to live with the indigenous people. Now, how many of them are actually get there and live and integrate is another matter. But we know the desertion rate was about 1 in 6. It reached such a proportions that the Virginia colony actually hires a bunch of German mercenaries, think commandos, to actually go and retrieve all of the deserters. They don't get all of them, but they come back with about 30 of them, and then they execute them on the spot. As an example to everyone, in case they get any ideas about going and deserting for the Indians. So, periodically you have these people escaping, and they may end up living with the tribes, but for the most part, the relationship is pretty bad. And something happens here with Bacon, and before we get to more of the context, two of my favorite documents for this class are just above here. The economics, if you go to right above. These two guys. And to make this simple, I'm going to give Richard Freethorn, which is this one, number 5, to these 3 tables that are closest to me, and the other side of the room, I'm going to give you Thomas Hellier's Gallows Confession. So if you would look at that, and then I will give you the rest of the context you need to understand this. find out about being an indentured servant from Richard Freeport. Yeah, it's not very nice. So he's writing to his parents and he's complaining about what he actually is getting. The food is awful, and not very much of it. What year is he writing? 1623, right when people weren't even surviving more than 5 years when they arrived. So yes, there is nothing but sickness and death, and really bad food, and not enough clothing. And one of the results of people not having enough is that other people are turning to, larceny in order to provide for themselves. What else? Yes.
He also talks about how the conditions aren't good and how he doesn't get paid very well. Or not paid, I forget.
His masters aren't giving him anything. Okay, well, you know what traditional English would be, right? And don't take this too personally. My last name is Smith. I'm from not only the largest, extended family in the world, but also English. Okay, English food. You take your favorite meat and your favorite vegetable, and then you boil them till they're completely tasteless. That's traditional cooking. And here's a guy who wishes he was back in England, where the food is better. Did I say it by hand? Yeah.
Said that the water.
Yeah, well, it's also possible if they have not very good sanitation that in fact probably the water is going to make you sick. So being a servant doesn't sound that different from being a slave. What about Mr. Hellier?
He loves it.
By which you mean he doesn't. He loves it so much that he turns to homicide. Okay, so fine. We'll start with the big punchline. He murders his master. And some other people while he's in the process, because someone witnesses him doing it, so he has to kill the witness too.
What? Don't they always know it's going to be minutes? But one servant goes away, and then there are three.
But he's planning on escaping, into the wilderness. That's the point. He just to take his chance with the Indians. They'll probably be nicer to him than his master. So tell us, how does he end up in this situation? Okay, but back up even before that. What happens when he's in England? Yeah, down on his luck. That's obvious. His luck is about to run out.
He was tricked to sign something to indentured servitude.
Okay, so it was very common. The labor recruiters, they're paid by how many people they get signed, and so they used every device at their disposal to convince people that they should, sign in. You just don't realize how awesome Virginia is. You're totally missing it if you're not actually signing up and putting yourself into indentured servitude, because once you're out of servitude, it's going to be so awesome. And he's told what? By the labor recruiters. Huh?
Question.
Yeah.
Do they tell them the terms they would be serving and stuff, or do they just say?
I don't know how often they actually lie to them, and I don't know how many of them can actually read.
and they told her he would be teaching some of these children. And
So he's told that he's going to be a teacher. Maybe this is somebody who can actually lead. The terms can change, however. Like if you sign a 7-year contract, and then you do something like try to run away, they can add another 3 years to your contract.
Did someone say Jean Valjean?
Well, we find out it's not so much that they send you to the gallows to be killed.
It sounds like basically taking away your years.
Yes.
When you're out of servitude and you're dead.
The afterlife is going to hold something for you, I suppose. But if I remember correctly, murder is actually a sin. So, I'll let you figure out how to interpret that. So, he shows up and finds out he's not going to be a teacher. In fact, they have him doing labor, like he's a slave. But what if the life expectancy is really low? Exactly. So what happens? Why are things so bad for him? Okay, he doesn't get to teach instead he's going to be labor, but why does he end up turning to murder? It would be nice if you could use that excuse with I didn't mean to kill Dr. Smith, it was an act of God.
Oh, so what one?
His master and mistress were really cruel to him.
Okay, so it turns out that, as luck would have it, not only is he not in the situation that the recruiter told him he was going to be in, that he gets an incredibly abusive master and mistress, and they not only take advantage of him, but they see him as scum of the earth, and they make sure to treat him like that. It's not like Freethorn's actually writing to his parents, send me supplies, please send me a care package. Of course, it takes 12 weeks, 6 weeks to get there, 6 weeks for a response. Correspondence is not exactly, internet speed. And this guy's situation is so desperate that he finally first tries to run away, and then when he gets caught, presumably social getting more time, he finally decides he's going to kill his master and mistress, and that'll be the end of it. Of course, maybe he could have just run away again. A better plan. That's not what he does. So the document we have here is actually his confession before he's put to death. As you point out, there doesn't seem to really be a big difference between slaves and servants. Let's focus on that. So Bacon is going to put together this army. So one of the questions we can ask is, well, who is this Nathaniel Bacon guy? So Bacon, as it turns out, actually is related by marriage to Governor Berkeley. I think his aunt is married to Berkeley, so he shows up in the colony. And I told you that the governing body in Virginia colony is pretty they're pretty tight. They don't let anyone inside. They like to hold multiple offices, and they like to control the little kind of clique of government, and they don't really want anyone else coming in. Berkeley is Bacon is fortunate that he's related to Berkeley, and initially he's welcomed, but he finds over time that he's being ignored, and then he's also not advancing the way he would like. He's expecting he's going to kind of be this kind of favorite son of the governor, and that he will have a red carpet. And instead, Berkeley is consistently kind of disagreeing with him. We're going against his better advice. Bacon, though, has an advantage, which is that the one responsibility Berkeley gave him is that Bacon is in charge of the militia. He's like the captain of the guard. And he agrees with a lot of these servants who have been freed, who've done their servitude, who are living out on the frontier and are concerned about violence with indigenous people, that there's great danger. And so Bacon decides he's going to put together his own little militia with these freed servants, and they're going to go fight against them. So they do. Now that would be the end of the story, except for one problem, which is that Berkeley's job is to keep order in the colony, and his relative has now just gone out, put together his own army, and attacked the Indians, and then therefore endangering the rest of Jamestown because now the Indians are upset. Understand. And this group that Berkeley, or Bacon's army, is an interesting group of people. So we know at the end some of them are going to be executed, 33 of them. And we have a list. One guy, second one listed in fact, is a guy named Barlow, who had been a soldier in Cromwell's army, right? So here's this Puritan who fought against the monarchy and executed the king. And after the English Civil War is over, where does he go? Into exile, Virginia, where he finds that he can still antagonize the king by way of his governor in the colony. In this case, he joins Bacon's rebellion. This guy here, a lot of these we only know like their last name. Carver, it says he's a stout sailor. Now you're thinking, so what? Well, it turns out sailors are very interesting. Sailors are interesting because on the ships in this period, slaves and servants were indistinguishable. The crews were black and white and they were mixed together, and they were all basically in the same boat, literally. It's not really a pun. They really were. But they're all the same social class. They're in the same condition. They're treated exactly the same, and they're also used to getting their way. If the captain gets out of line, they simply mutiny and overthrow him. Right? There are a certain set of rules about how things are going to work at sea, and so it's not a surprise, as you will see. The sailors will show up in a few instances in this class. There are 2 more occasions. Sailors tend to be rather ungovernable. It's not a surprise that there is a sailor and he's listed up here at the front of the list as somebody else who is also in Bacon's army. But what's also really interesting is his army is made up of white and black, slaves and servants, all together in an army, and they see themselves as somehow all being in essentially the same predicament. And they're perfectly okay with this. So Bacon's army is a very multicultural threat to the governor, and that in itself also is going to turn out to be a problem. So Berkeley had earlier written to Charles II, the king, and told him in his letter that he should consider us, by which the us here is us, the elite aristocrats of Virginia. Consider us a people pressed at our backs with Indians, in our bowels with our servants, and invaded from without by the Dutch. So they have like 3 threats, 2 external and 1 internal. Internally, the servants; externally, both the indigenous people and another European power. And they feel very, very defensive. They're very concerned about their safety. Now, the rebellion is in 1676. 4 years before, the assembly in Virginia, led by Berkeley and his aristocratic members, adopted laws limiting the movements of slaves and requiring that, and this is a quote, "No Negro shall be allowed to wear any white lineage and linen, but shall wear blue shirts and ships that may be hereby discovered if they steal or wear other linen." So they've come up with a dress code in order to tell the difference between a servant and a slave. Now this is a first move. Bacon's rebellion sets Virginia on a particular course, however. In the course of this rebellion, so it begins with this attack on the Indians. Berkeley quickly realizes that he has a problem on his hands because he can't allow Bacon to just put together his army. So Berkeley has to put together his own militia to go out and fight against Bacon in order to restore the order. In the course of the winter of 1676-77, Bacon is going to lead the army into Jamestown, and they're going to set the entire colony on fire. So Jamestown is burnt to the ground. The other thing that happens in the course of that winter is that Bacon actually ends up with, if I remember correctly, he dies from the complications of having lice, which carry diseases. Right? So he has lice, gets diseased, and he ends up dying from this in the course of the winter. So natural causes. Leaving his army without a leader. Yes?
This is here.
1676. It's like late in 1676. Bacon and his part of the rebellion is they burned down Jamestown. What? Yes, they did, until they went out onto the frontier to kill Indians and then found that they can't come back because they're now fighting against the governor. Right. So, anyway, here's what happens. While the rebellion's going on, because it takes 12 weeks to have an exchange of correspondence, and that's when weather is cooperating, Berkeley dispatches a note to the king. I have a rebellion on my hands. I need you to send me some support and some guidance, and here's what's going on. So he dispatches a letter. It finally comes back after the rebellion has come to an end. The rebels surrender, as I said, it's black and white, and a commission arrives. The king has received the notice, sends commissioners who are carrying royal pardons for all of the people who were part of the rebellion. Berkeley chooses to ignore the pardons and decides that he's going to execute people anyway. Now that's going against the king's wishes. He can just argue, oh, I didn't get it until after, sorry. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the chance to do that because the king had also dispatched his replacement right after he sent the commission. And so he would have executed more people, except the next guy shows up and says, oh, by the way, I'm replacing you, you've been recalled to England. Berkeley. Yeah, so he's been removed. So he doesn't execute more people. Here, we're out of time. When I see you next class, at the very beginning, I'm going to tell you how this ends and why it's really, really important.